Hey everyone, hope you're all really well. Just a really quick tutorial for you today about comping. Now comping is, if you don't know, approximately what I'm doing now. It's where you take the chord progression for a song, usually, and you use it to improvise a texture, an accompaniment, yeah, that's where the word comes from, to go behind a singer. It might be yourself, it might be somebody else. Sometimes it's what you do in the back of a band, and comping is a really, really useful skill to have because it means it helps you with songwriting, it helps you with playing with other people. It's really fun to just sit down and sing along with your favourite song and be able to play something in the background that's not the tune, you know, so it's a really handy thing. And also it can really help your chord knowledge. Now, I've talked quite a lot about comping on the channel in the past, and just yesterday I had a question in from one of my lovely Patreon supporters on our Patreon Discord chat, and what he said was, "Hey Bill, I noticed on one of your comping videos your left hand was playing open fifths. You held the root note." Okay, so not always the root of the chord that I play as the lowest note, but we'll say the root in this chord, and then you play the rhythm with your thumb. Okay, is that to help keep track of where you are physically on the keyboard? Okay, let me just demonstrate that effect. Okay, let me just comp through a few chords. What I'm playing here in C major, it's a really standard 1-5-6-4 chord progression. I'll put the chords kind of in subtitles so you can see what I'm playing. But just watch my left hand. So that's the effect we're talking about, where I've got an open voicing of a chord here, is what we'll call a shell chord. We'll come on to that in a second. And I'm holding the lowest note, which in this case is the root note of the chord, okay, because we're playing a C chord and that's a C. And I'm holding that for the full bar, the full measure that I'm playing the chord for typically. And I'm playing the rhythm up here on the upper note. And so the question was, do you do that to kind of keep track of where you are on the keyboard, to kind of give yourself an anchor between chords? And the answer to that is, I guess you could do that if you were, you were kind of practicing the skill, but that's not the reason I do it. In fact, you could, what I could do there is use both notes to play the rhythm if I wanted to. Okay, but that would give me a more kind of pointedly bassy sound, a more kind of aggressive bass, if you like. Whereas often when we're playing kind of pop piano styles, and this kind of style was really heavily developed by Elton John in the 60s and 70s, but you hear it from loads of people today, Ben Folds, all of those guys. And often it's more kind of lyrical, more kind of elegant, kind of lighter touch, and you want a greater degree of kind of richness and complexity. So typically when I'm doing that, the reason is that I want the lowest note in the chord, not always the root, but the lowest note in the chord to kind of give me a through line, okay, a good solid base on which to sit. And then this, the upper finger, my thumb in this case, is offering contrast. It's helping with the rhythm of the overall accompaniment, the overall improvisation, but it's doing something different from that, okay? Part of the important thing about comps in pop piano style is the way that the two hands play off each other, and you generate quite a lot of tension between them, okay? It's kind of like playing the bongos when you're playing complex. This is a comparison I often use when you're playing a complex rhythm on bongos, or whatever. It's kind of a little like that. It's the tension between the two hands. Why am I using shell chords? This is another question. So our questioner on Patreon said open fifths, and yes, if you know a little bit about intervals, you'll be able to see the chord is C, that is an open fifth. We've got the root of the chord there, also happens to be the lowest note I'm playing, and the G, which is a fifth above it. I'm not always playing open fifths, so if you look at the left-hand shapes I was typically playing, that's for the C chord, G chord, A minor 7, and then for the F, which is back to an open fifth. Yeah, don't worry if you don't know about the terminology of intervals. That is really not a big deal. It's the physical kind of look and spacing of them that we're really kind of interested in here. The reason that I'm not filling in the full chord is basically because it would sound kind of muddy. Yeah, if you divide the piano keyboard in half at middle C, the further, roughly, the further that way you go, the muddier and messier chords will sound if you play them with their notes tightly spaced together. So if you play a very dense C chord, say something like this up here, that sounds really quite nice and clear. But if we tried to do it down here, it sounds kind of muddy and messy. The reason for that is any note you play on the piano keyboard is not just the note you hear, what we would call the fundamental tone. It also has a whole bunch of overtones, yeah, going up the harmonic series, up and up and up the piano. And if you play a note up here, you don't actually get many of those harmonics because they disappear off out of audible range. So, you know, your dog can hear them, but you can't. Whereas if you play a note down here, that's C, you get far more audible overtones. And if you play lots of chunky chords low down, those overtones start to fight with each other, which kind of gives you that muddy effect. So when I'm playing, you know, when I want a chordal effect below middle C, a lot of the time, not always, but a lot of the time, I'll play what's called a shell chord. Yeah, they're really common in jazz as well. And we're playing the lowest note of the chord, often the root, the note that the chord is named after, plus one at the top. Okay, so that's a shell fifth. So that's why I'm playing that shape. That's why I'm playing that rhythm. Anyway, question went on. Just looking over here at my Discord app on the computer. In the same video, you were showing the long, short rhythm using dotted quarter notation, okay, or dotted crotchet notation, if you like, UK terminology. Is this an alternative to a 4/3 polyrhythm, or is the dotted note just a simplification? No, it's not any of those things, really. What that pattern is, I'll demonstrate it in a second, is a really characteristic pattern in pop piano, in pop music in general, actually. Just listen to the rhythm that the G here is playing. So you've got that kind of long, short, long, short. I should say that I'm sticking things together a little bit with the pedal here. Remember that the sustain pedal on the piano doesn't just stick our notes together, it doesn't just hold them, it gives them an extra kind of quality and resonance as well. Okay, really important thing to remember there. But, you know, I could do it without the sustain pedal if I wanted to. So we've kind of got the long, short. And if you wanted to notate that, if you're a music reader, then yes, you would do it with dotted quarter, quarter, or dotted crotchet, crotchet, call them what you want. And that kind of goes across the beat. This is the point of this rhythm. This is probably the most common cross rhythm that you get in this kind of music, but you get lots of different variations of it as well. Yeah. Let me just flick a metronome on. So we've got a click, 4/4. 100 beats per minute. Hopefully you can hear that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Now let me play the pattern. Okay, can you see how it's sitting across? It's sitting across the beat. The first two dotted quarters, first two dotted crotchets, are kind of smeared across the first three beats, and then the final one lands square on the fourth beat. Okay, so that is just a very typical way of creating interesting, complex rhythms in this kind of music. Now, if you imagine you've got a drummer behind you beating out 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, you could match him or her beat for beat. But that's a very particular, very distinctive, that kind of 4 to the floor sound isn't always what you want. Sometimes you want something that creates tension, and using that bum, 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 and variations of it is one way we do that. Yeah, but bass players often do it as well. Yeah, you'll often hear a bass player going. It is just a really, really common effect. Let me, just play a comp through a little minute or two on a 1, 5, 6, 4 progression in C. And if you don't know what 1564 is, by the way, I'll put some links to other tutorials in the description text below, and see if you can spot that pattern turning up in the left. I'll do it quite a lot, but I'll also maybe put in a few little variations. Okay, here we go. Yeah, well, I was kind of exaggerating it pretty strongly there, but it's a really common thing. If you are new to this style, so, you know, I hope that's answered the question. Anyway, I thought it was a really interesting question. If you're new to this style, like I said, I've got a whole bunch of tutorials and I'll stick them in the description text below. But I thought it was really worth digging into that left hand stuff, because people in all kinds of improvisatory styles on the piano get really kind of freaked out about their left hand. It's like, I don't know what to do with my left. And often you can do really, really simple stuff. So if you're just learning this kind of thing to start with, you don't even have to do that. Yeah, just play a single note if you want to. Maybe with a little rhythmic variation there. That's all you have to do. And like I said, comping's a really fun thing to do. If you're into songwriting, production, it's got a really massively useful skill. But if you just like kind of sitting around playing around with your favourite songs and you want to sing the melody and you don't just want to be following the music and playing the melody underneath your singing, then you know, it's really kind of cool. Let me know what you think in the comments. By the way, do check out my Patreon. This is where the question came from. You know, we have a really good, really friendly community over there. It doesn't cost very much to sign up. I think you'll probably really like it. Do check it out. Also, let me know what you think about this kind of style and vibe of video. What I've tried to do today is go back to the way I used to do things. Back when I first started making piano tutorials on YouTube back in 2009, when all I would do is basically sling a camera above the piano and just talk. Yeah, couple of reasons for that. One of them is that there has been an increasing trend, which I've kind of followed over recent years, to really highly produce videos, lots of edits, lots of fancy stuff. And I'm going to keep doing that, but every now and then, you know, and maybe make it a much more regular thing, just do something where I sit and talk, yeah, because it's kind of more fun to do in some ways and more relaxed. Also because one thing I'm really striving to do in the Patreon community, here on YouTube, across all my sort of channels, is just make things more kind of human and conversational, because the trend at the moment on a lot of media, YouTube particularly, is towards the kind of AI-ization of stuff. Now, I absolutely love AI. I use it for things. It's great. I feel a personal relationship with ChatGPT. Love ChatGPT. Always reminds me, if you're a Douglas Adams fan, ChatGPT always reminds me of the computer on the Starship Heart of Gold, which is relentlessly upbeat and friendly and polite, but can never quite make Arthur Dent a cup of tea. Anyway, what I'm trying to do is, because so many people are like, now, aha, I can use AI to make all my videos, and we're getting lots of videos which are like, do this, do that, blah, 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 I'm an AI, I'm totally clever. And I think there's a lot to be said for making things just a little bit more organic and human. So again, let me know, I feel quite strongly about this, let me know what you think in the comments. You know, if you would like me to be, I am like ChatGPT. I know ChatGPT is not like that, but you kind of get the idea. If you like the more human stuff, then I will do more things like this. Okay, enough blether from me. You head off to your piano, play around with the chord progression, see how you get on with that left hand. And yeah, like I said, let me know in the comments. Check out my Patreon. Or if you're looking for another video on comping, you could maybe try out this one, which is going to magically appear here right now. There we go. Have a good day. I'll see you soon.